too sweet to me. This is where I wanna be. On up with you, supersonic. We're on fire, rocking love alive. On up with you. Just in the backseat of the Beamer, put my feet up. How you feeling? Yeah, yeah. Just in the backseat of the Beamer, put my feet up. How you feeling? Yeah. Just in the backseat of the Beamer, put my feet up. How you feeling? Yeah. Yeah. Just in the backseat of the Beamer, put my feet up. How you feeling? Yeah. Just in the backseat of the Beamer, put my feet up. How you feeling?
To answer the question, how strong is Geto? Let's compare him to Gojo, who many thinks is the best unit in the game. If you go to the tier list, Gojo all the way up there in the Discord tier list. SS tier, that's what the dev think of him. And before today, I also thought that Gojo was going to be the best unit in the game. So to compare Gojo and Geto, we're going to compare their DPS, or damage per second. Let me show you Geto's DPS. This is without crit damage. Without taking any crit damage into account, Geto does 1,752 damage per second. Guess what Gojo's DPS is? The so-called best unit in the game only dashes out 1,267 DPS. Meaning that Geto has over 38% more DPS compared to Gojo. Now, this doesn't mean that Gojo is bad, okay? Gojo is more of a burst damage character that you switch to and just press his ult. That's it. That's all Gojo does. And so yeah, that doesn't mean Gojo's bad, but it does mean Geto is pretty good, because his DPS is a lot more than the best unit in the game. So in this comparison, both Gojo and Geto has SSS stats in both damage and cooldown. So therefore their stats are equal. And Gojo has Warlord, which is a 25% damage boost, and my Geto has Warlord, which is also 25% damage boost. And this is a fair comparison since they have the same base stat and they have the same stat boost from their trait. Now, for this comparison, I did not take crit chance into account. Therefore, both are like playing on equal ground. So that's basically what I'm trying to say. So now let's figure out Geto's real potential when he has the trait Doombringer. If you somehow don't hit any crit at all, that's 1,752 damage with 50% crit rate, and the crit damage is 1.5x. So basically 50% extra damage. Your damage is going to go up to 2,190 DPS. Assuming you are lucky and somehow always just land a crit, your DPS is going to go up to 2,628. Now, this is pretty rare, but it's not impossible. Chance is close to 0, but not impossible. But this isn't even the maximum damage yet, because Doombringer gives 2% damage boost per kill, and this stacks up to 30%. But in all honesty, when I tested this, it was more like 24%. And what I'm think is going on is that damage boosts don't stack. If you get two 25% damage boosts, you don't get like multiplied by 1.25 and then multiplied by 1.25 again. I think it's just multiplied that to the base stat and adding it all together or something like that. It's not like multiplying stacking, if you get what I mean. All right, where was I? So the max damage without crit with full 30% boost from kill is 2,172 DPS. Now, the average DPS after maxing damage boost and a 50% crit rate is 2,716 DPS. This is going to be like the base average DPS because you're going to have your 30% boost and you're going to have your 50% crit. The 2716 is the average DPS or the true DPS of Doombringer Geto. Unless it's like a raid or a challenge where reaching max damage boost is difficult because getting, was it 15 kills? Getting 15 kills is pretty hard, especially raid. You can't really get any kill in raid. So yeah, this one is more used in like story mode or boss rush. And in those two modes, you should be able to get up to the maximum DPS pretty easily. Now, for the last DPS, assuming you maxed out your kill and you have max damage boost and you somehow always land a crit without fail, the maximum potential for Doombringer Geto is 3,259 DPS. Now, that is unheard of. That is such a high amount of damage that Gojo just doesn't have a chance. Even if Gojo was a Doombringer Gojo, he will not reach this much damage. Well, he'll reach a high burst damage, but not a high DPS. Now, you might be wondering where I got all my information from. That's pretty easy. I did some testing on the JJK story mode, Act 1, Nightmare. I also did testing on the White Whale raid boss or the ReZero raid boss. Basically, for every single skill that Geto has, I would do 5 rounds of damage testing on the normal story mode and then 5 rounds on the rail per skill. So each skill have 10 trial total. So basically, I would go into story mode and keep using skill 1 5 times, record the damage, and then go back to the raid. And then I just keep doing that. That actually took quite a long time. And from the information that I got, I calculate what is the normal damage and what is the crit damage. I also found that bigger target, the whale, doesn't actually increase the amount of hit that Geto lands. It might for some other character like Freeren, but it doesn't seem to work for Geto. And I think that Geto, the Doombringer Geto, is the best unit that I have. The DPS is quite unbelievable. I think I'm going to show you a clip of me doing boss rush or infinite. So I did it 40 wave. I was actually going to do 30. I thought that was going to take like 10 minutes. But turns out, no. I did 40 wave with just Geto and 0 pet. 40 wave, 8 minutes, about 1 million damage. That's quite insane. And I wouldn't have believed how strong his DPS is. I don't think any of you would have believed how strong his DPS is if I didn't have like the calculations to prove it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And if the devs are watching this, please do not nerf him.